Hi guys! Ako po si Baby Joy Bukan at ngayon po ay gagawa ako ng reaction about sa Inca civilization. At video po ito guys tungkol sa Inca civilization. Simulan na natin!
Today, we are going to learn about Inca civilization. The Inca Empire, with its capital at Cuzco in modern-day Peru, dominated much of western South America in the 15th century and early 16th centuries. It is stretched throughout most of Peru and Chile and parts of Ecuador, Bolivia, and northwest Argentina. The Incan Empire developed along the west coast of the continent, with the Pacific Ocean forming its western border and the formidable Andes Mountains to the east, which provided a natural barrier from outsiders. The origins of the Inca Empire have many similar stories, and the one of the Ayar brothers is one of the most popular versions. According to the legend, the ancestors of the Inca rulers were created by the sun god known as Inti. They were merged from a cave called Tambo Toko. Leading four brothers and four sisters was Ayar Manco, who carried a golden staff with instructions to find a place that it would sink into the ground, showing fertile soil. After many adventures and extensive searching, Ayar Manco and his siblings reached the Cusco Valley in 1200s, where the staff pierced the ground. After fighting off the fierce native population, they founded their capital. Later on, the Incas settled in Cuzco from the altiplanic regions around 1230. Since then, they made strategic alliances with local people. Let us see how these people lived. The emperor or king of the Inca Empire was called Sapa Inca, which means sole ruler. Ayar Manco became Manco Capac, the first Sapa Inca.
So guys, ang Inca civilization pala ay known siya for creating the largest empire ever seen in America. Their impressive agricultural techniques and their art and architecture which uniquely combined geometrical stonework with the natural landscape.
With the help of a series of Sapa Inca until Pachacutec, the ninth ruler, assuming the name Pachacuti Yupanqui or Cataclysm, founded the Inca Empire in 1430. In addition, he was also known as the Earth Shaker or the Reverser of the World, which means he who turns the world upside down. With the help of military generals known as Apukuna, Pachacuti expanded Inca rule throughout the Andes Mountains. Furthermore, the empire's territory was reorganized as Tahuantinsuyu or Land of Four Quarters in 1438. Each of these quarters was called Soyu. Each Soyu was then further subdivided into provinces. Meanwhile, at the center of the four quarters was the capital city of Cusco. In addition, the Sapa Inca made laws and passed them down to the people through the
So, the most interesting facts about the Incas are the Inca Empire only lasted for about 1 century. So we don't know precisely when Inca culture began to emerge. However, most scholars place it around the 13th century. So there is even an exciting origin story and myth.
Inca made laws and passed them down to the people through the tax collectors. While on the other hand, murder, stealing, cheating on taxes, and cursing the gods was all against the law. However, there weren't a lot of crimes in the Inca Empire, mostly because the punishments were very harsh. Moreover, the Ailu was a group of families that worked as a portion of land together. The ILU was responsible for paying taxes. In order to maintain, control, and to make sure people were paying taxes and following the ways of the Inca, the Sapa Inca had inspectors who watched over the people called Tokoy Rikuk, translated as he who sees all. Meanwhile, most of the people in the Inca Empire were commoners who worked as farmers and herders. They were required to support the government by paying two main taxes. The first tax was a portion of the ILU's crops, while the second type of tax was labor tax, also known as mita. Each man between the ages of 16 and 60 had to pay by working for the government for a portion of the year. The Incas farmed the highlands. They practiced terraced farming, and potatoes and tiny grains called quinoa were commonly grown by the Inca farmers. They also grew variety of crops. Agricultural produce or surplus food was stocked up in government deposit storehouses, also called kualka. In addition, dried potatoes, also known as chuño, were preserved and stored in these storehouses for long periods. Also, they domesticated animals, primarily llama and alpaca herd. Thus, these animals provided them with wool, meat, leather, movable wealth, and transportation. Their waste was used for fuel. They were often sacrificed in religious ceremonies. Moreover, to link the Suyu, Pachacuti built highways and roads, and the main purpose for the roads was for communication, moving army troops.
So the Inca were mostly vegan. The vegan lifestyle came relatively easy to the Incas. Guinea pig or kai in Quechua was their main source of animal protein. Even then, kai meat was reserved for special occasions. This is still reflected in modern day Peruvian society, as most Peruvians only eat guinea pig. Only Peruvians during family celebrations and national holidays, even though the source of meat protein was slim. The Incas grew and harvested a plethora of incredible plants, which we now refer to as superfoods. These include potatoes, purple corn, cacao, and peanut.
Furthermore, Inca had no writing, so they used the complex system of knotted strings called quipu to record numbers, population, food supplies, llama, and for taxation purposes. A quipu could only be read by an official called quipu kamayok. On the other hand, Inca Empire did have spoken language called Quechua. Moreover, gorges effectively. These bridges were constructed using braids of itchy reeds grass with wooden and fiber flooring. In addition, the Incas were fishermen too. They used boats called basas made from bundles of reeds tied together. Did you know that the Incas were also certainly skilled stonemasons? They used hammers to shape stones and then polished them with wet sands. They used special building techniques to make their buildings and houses earthquake proof. The stone bricks fitted so well that they did not need mortar to hold them together. Next, the Inca houses were rectangular in shape with a thatched roof, and walls were mostly made of stone or adobe. Furthermore, during Pachacutic's reign, the famous stone town of Machu Picchu, which means Old Mountain, was constructed. It was built first and foremost as a retreat for the Inca and his family to worship natural resources deities, especially the sun god Inti. Machu Picchu is one of the seven new wonders of the world, often called the lost city of the Incas. While on the other hand, the fortress of Sacsayhuaman was also built during his reign. It is believed that it was intended for military purposes. However, it appears to be great ceremonial temple dedicated to the god Inti. Moreover, religion touched almost every aspect of Inca life. Incas worshipped many different gods, which they associated with natural forces. Their main deity, however, was the sun god Inti, their supreme god. Meanwhile, they had sacred buildings or temples dedicated to their gods, and the Incas believed they were children of the sun and needed the god to be kept happy through worship to continue its journey across the sky. Inti was especially worshipped during the festival of Inti Raymi, held during the winter solstice in June. There were sacrificial ceremonies designed to ensure the continued success of the Inca Empire, its people, and their harvests. White llamas, food, other livestock, and even areas of farmland were dedicated to their gods. Human sacrifices was also practiced in the Inca Empire. The Capacocha ceremony is a ritual sacrifice of beautiful children in honor of the sun god and other deities. In addition, it was performed in celebration of key events such as death of an emperor, the birth of a royal son, succession of throne, and a victory in battle. It was also conducted to stop or prevent droughts, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and epidemic. The bodies of children were set in fetal position, then buried together with elaborate objects. They believed sacrificed children were to serve the emperor in his afterlife. Meanwhile, when the kings died, they were mummified, sometimes entombed in a seated position, and their bodies were preserved and worshipped in temples. Furthermore, the Incas used two different calendars, one for daytime and one for nighttime. The daytime calendar was based on the solar cycle and has 365 days long. It was used for economic activities such as agriculture, mining, warfare, and construction, while the Incas' nighttime calendar was developed to mark important ceremonies to the moon and stars. It had 328 days. Furthermore, Pachacutic's son, Topa Inca Yupanqui, continued the empire's military expansion and eventually became ruler in 1471. By the end of his reign, the empire covered much of southwestern America. Meanwhile, Topa's son, Huayna Capac, succeeded him in 1493. Inca Empire reached its greatest extent during his reign. He renovated the famous road system, improved trade, communication, transportation, and built new temples across the empire, to which the native people had no resistance. Millions died, including Huayna Capac and his designated heir. The vacant throne ignited a civil war between the two surviving brothers, Atahualpa and Huascar, greatly weakened the empire. Lastly, in 1532, after finally winning the Inca Civil War, Atahualpa and his army encountered the European invaders. Francisco Pizarro and his small group stunned the king's much larger force with steel weapons, guns, and horses, neither of which they had seen before. Pizarro massacred 5,000 Incas. Meanwhile, Atahualpa was captured and tried to secure his release by offering a vast ransom of 24 tons of gold and silver. The Spanish greatly accepted the ransom before executing the emperor anyway. Lastly, though the capital had fallen, some Incas fell back to a new capital of Vilcabamba and resisted for the next 40 years. But by 1572, the Spaniards destroyed all remaining resistance along with much of the Incas' physical and cultural legacy. Thus, the great Inca fell, and even faster than it had risen.
So, my reaction for this, guys, is ang Inca Empire pala was the largest ancient civilization in pre-Columbian American. Arising from the Andean highlands of Peru, sometimes in the 13th century, the Incas established their capital in the city of Cusco, located in modern-day Peru. So, the most interesting facts about are Inca's empire are the Inca Empire only lasted for about 1 century. The Incas domesticated very few animals. The Incas were mostly vegan, and the Incas never had to worry about starvation. And most cultures predating the Spanish conquest presented and respected gender fluidity and upheld a complementary power structure between men, women, and individual. At yun lang po guys. Thanks for watching.